Welcome back to the neighborhood, boys and girls. Our first guest of tonight is George Kelly from KW.
KW in
Real estate wonder. We'll call you like the real estate guru, real estate master salesman, all the way around. I always use the same horrible joke every time we start an interview. No one puts their hand up in second grade and says, I want to be a realtor. So everyone has their own funky story, their own personal journey of how they got here. So before we talk about how awesome you are at selling real estate, talk a little bit about your journey getting to through life to the real estate industry.
Yeah, so I grew up in Stratford, New Jersey. So Sterling High School alum here.
We know you're smart right from the get-go, intelligent,
top tier school system.
Good looking.
Everybody knows. So I graduated from Rowan and I got a job because I had no clue what I wanted to do with my life. My uncle got me a job working for a defense contractor in Camden, and I did that for a number of years, mostly working production management in their operations building, and I started to feel like the guy from Office Space, right, who would show up every day and just be like, I hope they fire me
Where's
today.
my stapler?
Yeah. So I went, got married, went on my honeymoon, and the day I came back from my honeymoon, they laid me off.
Okay.
So it was at that point in my life, I'm 30 years old, I am sitting back for the first time, thinking to myself, someone else controls my fate.
Horrible feeling.
Right?
Yeah.
Someone else is going to be able to say how much I get paid, when I get to go home, when I get to, and you start to have these sort of like almost like an early midlife crisis, like, well, what am I going to do?
Sure.
Right? So I got a real estate license so that I could make some part-time money while I looked for a real job.
Gotcha.
And then
Still qualifies though,
I'm still looking for that real job.
Yes.
But
I've been here for 20 years looking for a real job, absolutely.
That's exactly it. So I sort of got fired in my way into it, and I've heard people say like, hey, if you're successful in this, you wouldn't be successful in many other job skills, right? And I feel like this is my place. I got lucky to find something that my particular skill set fits the industry.
Nice. Now, in your first job or first part, did you have a particular mentor, trainer, or whatever who kind of took you under their wing and showed you the ropes, or was it kind of throw you in the water, see if you can swim, sell a house?
So, in real estate, in real estate, I started with Marty Hill, who was my first mentor for my first couple deals. Marty has mentored some of the top agents in South Jersey right now. A lot of people who are selling a whole bunch of real estate right now. We all got in around the same time. And then George Denny has really been my main mentor for the last 9 years or so, right?
Gotcha.
I started with KW in Cherry Hill when it was the only office in South Jersey, the only KW office. There was about 125 of us there. And I've watched that entire business grow and sort of seen where it goes from 125 person office to what it's like at a 250, 300, 400 person office. And to be mentored by someone who's growing things just a few years and a few steps ahead of me has been a huge help in my business.
Nice. Now, what do you do outside of business? What do you do to further yourself educationally, mentally, self-help books, classes, guru stuff? What do you do to keep yourself ahead of the curve?
So every day I start the day off, I read from the Daily Stoic book by Ryan Holiday. Really good, sort of just something to set your mind straight. Hey, if you're watching this at a later date, we are in the midst of some chaos right now, right? Our real estate industry is getting beat up with rates, right? We're getting beat up with deals that blow up and fall apart, and you need to have your head clear and your mind straight every day when you're going to get into this, or it's going to take a toll on your health. It's going to take a toll on your family life, right? That's the stuff I actually care about.
Sure.
So starting the day off with something every day just to put me in like a positive mindset. And then classic stuff like, if you haven't read Grant Cardone's 10X rule, right? I'm not the world's biggest Grant Cardone fan of everything he does, but that book in particular can really set your mind straight. And then I fall to the standard. I've built my entire business through the millionaire real estate agent models.
Yep.
So I have probably read through that book a few dozen times, but never cover to cover, right? Like chapter reference book style, right? Like, hey, I'm at this point in my career. Let me read this part. I'm at this point in my career. Let me see what this says. So that's a big part of what I do.
It's awesome. And it's funny that you say that about Grant Cardone, because there's been so many times and so many people that I don't agree with even half of what they say.
Yep.
You know? And there's one guy in particular, Andy Frisella, who's really popular right now. He did 75 Hard. We are like politically oil and water, and he talks about stuff, and I'm like, I can't even keep it on sometimes when he talks about it. But at the base of the stuff that he talks about and the things about entrepreneurship and personal discipline and getting better, he's so on point. And it's the same kind of thing with Grant Cardone. Like, I have a lot of stuff in common with him, but a lot of stuff I'm so diametrically opposed to. But when I turned on and first started listening to the 10X rule, I was like, it made me realize you're such an idiot, because I personally roll people out sometimes because of an image that I have of them, and I'm like, I can't listen to them because they're this or they're that. And then I'm like, you cut yourself off from learning so much because of a preconceived notion of somebody. And I got through Grant's 10X book, and I'm like, man, I really need to be more cognizant of that, because I don't want to cut people off. Even if I don't agree with half of it, if I just take one nugget, that nugget could be what changes your life. You know what I mean?
I mean, I spend thousands of dollars a year, like many other agents. I go to huge mega conferences.
Sure.
I go to smaller stuff. And I'm not looking, when I go to any of these things, to learn a ton of new stuff, right? We realize after a number of years in this business that everything repeats, right? Everybody's got little tweaks on stuff. But that one nugget, if you pick up that one nugget, whatever it cost you to get into that, to buy that book, to take that course, to go to that convention, if you take away that one idea, you should return 10, 20, 30 times whatever it cost you to get that piece of information.
Yeah. And I've noticed most times that nugget doesn't come from the person who's like me. It always comes from the person in the room who I size up and go, I don't want to listen to that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or, man, whatever. But that's really the one, because like always, you know, if you listen to everybody who's just like you, you're not really going to expand your stuff. You're not really going to learn new things. But when you go to these conferences and you talk to these people, you hear somebody, you're like, man, I never thought of it that way. Or just they say the same sentence that you've heard before, but then follow it up with something where it clicks and the quarter drops. You're like, oh, okay. And like you, I spend a bunch of money on personal development and getting better. And it's funny, people always say that's too expensive. And every time I hear that, I think to myself, you have no idea. Like, if you're not going to invest in yourself, what are you going to invest in? If it's $1,000, but you smoke cigarettes, that's the most ridiculous thing in the world. Or you drink $5.25 lattes. Don't do that for 2 months, and you can invest $1,000 in yourself in personal development. So that's a real quick plug for personal development. If you're watching this and you don't do it,
Personal development,
do
right?
it.
Like,
for real.
But it's something that I would have said as somebody in my 20s. I would have said, that's all, rah, ridiculous stuff. I'd never need something like that. And then in my 30s, I'm sitting back like, well, I don't make as much money as I want, right? I don't live in the neighborhood that I want to live in. I don't drive the car I want to drive. I don't see myself actually achieving the things that I want. So at a certain point, you have to sort of take a look in the mirror and say, you know what? It's not the outside world. It's not other people who are the problem. I can fix this, right? By actually changing me, I can change the entire outlay.
A lot of people don't get there. A lot of people will constantly look for outside things to blame it on, outside factors. It's not me. It's the leads. It's the customers.
It's
the
the
business,
brokerage. It's the team. It's the leads.
This, it's my split. It's my this.
Everybody.
It's not because.
But the person in the mirror.
Yeah.
Because I'm fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm great. It's everything else. It's
Yeah.
crazy. All right. So, I know that you do mentor people now.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about that. What do you find to be the most rewarding part of growing agents or of helping others build a business that they can provide for their family from?
So really my career right now, besides the times that I personally sell, I have a team. It's 18 other agents and myself. And really my goal, the entire point of the team, is a cumulative goal of what the other people's goals are, right? So I had a coach many years ago who, he said, "What do you want to do?" I said, I want to sell 200 units this year. And he said, "All right, tell me why 200 units?" I'm like, "Dude, if I sell 200 units, I'm going to make a lot of money." And he's like, "Well, you're never going to sell 200. And I said, no, dude, I will." And he's like, "You're not listening to me. That number means nothing to you. You're saying it because it's a nice round number, just like when you first started coaching with me and you said, I want to make 100K, and I asked you, why not 1 million? And you said, well, I've never made 100, right? Like that's that sort of go-to number in your head." And he said, "I want you to write down what you actually want in life. Write it down. Write down how much it costs you to live your life. Then write down what you want to invest in and how much that's going to cost. Then write down whatever debt you want to pay off and how much that's going to cost." So it's a strategy called the LID, lifestyle, investment, and debt. If you take that, from that point, all right, if I make this amount of money, I'm good. How many units will it take me to sell that? Doing that exercise, I realized that it would only take me around 140 units to do that. So this 200 number, it meant nothing to me. Yet I realized the actual life I wanted to live revolved somewhere around 140 units. So then I did that same application with the people on my team. And I realized that when I added up all their goals, it only came to 110 units. So that point was where I realized for the rest of my career, it's been almost 7 years since that point, is that I know what I want out of life. I know how many units it will take to make that amount of money. I then go to the people below me, or I shouldn't even use the word below, they're my partners.
Yeah.
I go to my partners and I say, what do you want out of life? And when we figure out how many units it will take for them to get what they want, it's my job to either sell the Delta myself or to recruit the Delta in.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's crazy when you do that. And you reference Grant Cardone's 10X thing. When he talked about, when they said, why do you use 10X? And he gave the thing about selling cars. If you've sold 20 cars and your goal is always 25 cars and you can't get to 25 cars, if you 10X it and get to 200 and you come up halfway short, well, you're selling 100 cars and you couldn't get to 25,
Yep.
It's just the numbers and the philosophy of it that is always so awesome to get to. And I haven't heard that lid before. That's really awesome to find out what you need, and then it just becomes goals. And it's not like you're throwing it out there to go, oh, I want to make $1 million. Why? How? What for? For this? And what's your freedom number? You know what I mean? Like,
what will $1 million do for you? Right? If I gave someone $1 million, they would first spend a little bit on the life that they actually want, and then they'd have a whole bunch left over that they'd spend on crap. And that's how people blow that money, is because they truly don't know what their happiness is, right?
Sure.
For me, it's like, I want to live in this neighborhood, I want to be able to provide this stuff for my family, and that's going to cost X per year. I want to invest in these items, that's going to cost X per year. I want to make sure that I have no debt, or if I have no debt, I want to take that money I would have invested in debt and I want to put it back into the investment category. So that one day if my mom needs help as she gets older, that I take care of that. If my sister needs help, I take care of her. If my sister-in-law or my father-in-law, if anybody needs help that I care about, right? That's the money that I want to have. So it's not just selling units for units, it's selling units to make the money to live the life I actually want to live.
Sure. And you kind of just summed it all up right there. Having a number and having a goal is one thing, but when you attach an actual feeling to it, it makes it so much more achievable. Making $1 million would be great, but when you really feel what it would be like to make that $1 million, it makes those goals so much more workable and so much more attainable. It's really awesome way to do it. Okay, so now we talked little bit about your past. Let's go forward.
Yep.
We're going 2024, November of 2024. Where are you at? What are some things you're going to check off on your vision board? What are some goals that you're going to achieve? And what are some things that we're going to watch you brag about on social media, maybe accomplishing between now and then?
So my next goal is a 1,000-person organization.
Okay.
Right? So I started to think a little differently about my career a number of years ago, which is maybe I don't want to be the guy who actually goes out and transacts 100 pieces of business myself, right? What makes me happier? Transacting 100 pieces of business or helping 100 people live the life they want to live, right? So my goal is to surround myself with the 10 people who want to create the life they want, and for me to teach them how to surround themselves with the 10 people who want to create the life they want, and essentially create that organizational structure where I can help thousands of people by helping the right 10.
Nice. That's awesome. All right, now we got your personal question. You want sports or music?
Oh, you know what? I think sports is an easier one, so I'll take music.
Okay, so
I have a slightly more eclectic music taste.
Tomorrow morning, you wake up and there's a genie that appears in your bedroom and says, you can have one group musician, whatever, come to your house on Friday night, play 2 songs for you. What's the group musician, singer, whatever, and what are the 2 songs?
So are we going like in their prime, or are we? All right, I was going to say I wouldn't say Metallica today.
Correct.
But I'd say,
Pre-Black
the
album.
vintage, just right around Black Album tour, Metallica still rings in my young male heart.
I like you even more.
So I'm going with Metallica and let's say Master of Puppets, and then on the other side of me, right, there is the part that loves hip hop music too, right? But the reality is, my hip hop sense is way late '90s, cheesier. As I'm older in high school,
Clan?
right? I was just about to say, I'm we could do Wu-Tang is forever here, but I will go with some Dr. Dre, that still Dre, right? The classic piano intro. If I'm coming out on stage in an event, that's
what you want.
That's what I'm rolling out to. Yeah.
Nice. George, thank you so much for coming by the neighborhood.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
We'll be right back to the next guest on Mr. Mortgage's Neighborhood.